Hello, everybody out there. Welcome to what hopefully is the first of a long line of episodes here for us at Schmoedown. I am one of your hosts on this panel. My name is Ryan Payne. I'm also here joined by my fellow host here. I have Brandon Buck, and at the bottom is Ben Rayner. How you doing, fellas?
Doing good.
Good.
Here to talk about something we all love, and that is the Schmoedown.
Oh, 100% agree. I do. I mean, if all of you at home are watching this, then you clearly know what this is about. We're clearly going to talk about the Schmoedown. I mean, even the image that you see on the bottom left corner here is all about the Schmoedown here. But before we get started, we just wanted to give a brief introduction, or at least an idea of what you're getting involved into. Many of you out there are aware of whenever you watch the Schmoedown episode, you always hear like Christian Harloff, Mark Ellis, or people on SCN talk about who is on your Mount Rushmore of Schmoedown, or these players qualify to be the Mount Rushmore of Schmoedown. And look, it's obvious we all have our own personal four or our personal best. But I figured since the Schmoedown has had such a great wealth history, what else can we talk about? What other players in the Schmoedown can actually qualify, or at least you think are among the best of the best? And that's why we're here. We're just here to determine who out of the entire lineage, the entire roster of Schmoedown players can be the best and actually be worthy to have a spot on the Mount Schmoedown. Now but since that, we got that hopefully out the way for everybody at home to understand. What we're mainly going to do is we're just going to take a Schmoedown player that the three of us have agreed to look at. We're going to go over their list of matches they played on. Sometimes they have a long list of matches, like maybe 15 or 12, or sometimes it can just be a short one. But ultimately, what we're going to do is that we're just going to look at their matches and just break down from their playability to their to their style and promos, to their personalities, see how they are as singles players. If they've ever played in teams, we can always check out their matches as a team player. But ultimately, this is just how we personally feel, and then in the end we can make an argument or we can make a decision as to who we believe are definitely among the best, or who we think deserves a spot on this mountain of Schmoedown players. But since I am a little silent here, but how are you guys feeling right now? I mean, honestly,
I'm pretty excited, actually.
Yeah.
This should be this is fun. It's always nice to talk to other people and get their thoughts and viewpoints on other Schmoedown competitors, especially maybe ones that aren't so well known. So we're definitely going to be doing that here going forward. You want to let everyone know who we're talking about today?
I definitely would love to talk about who we're gonna do. I mean, normally when we want to discuss a Mount Schmoedown, everyone always wants to go to the best. But you know what? It was just funny because when we were discussing it, I was just looking at some of a few like overlooked players, and one player who I thought had a great impact on the Schmoedown, I think deserved his time in the light, and that is the Mr. Movie Release Dates himself, the Mantz man, Scott Mantz. Yeah, you
There
see
he
with that
is.
Beatles t-shirt.
Sorry, Ben. Sorry, I didn't.
That's okay. Please.
Look, we're gonna be talking about this dude, so he might cover your face, he might cover my face. I mean, who knows? Next time, Ben, you'll be in the top corner, and the next Schmoedown player is gonna be covering me. So we're all gonna have ourselves
Here,
be.
just so that it's fair, he's covering
there
you
you
now.
go.
I will move myself down here, and he's covering me now. Okay, it's all fair now.
Yeah.
Everyone has been covered by the man's face.
Yes. But one thing's for sure about Scott Mantz, this guy, he is without a doubt like personality personified, in my opinion. I mean,
He's great.
you just you watch an interview or you just see a pre-promo of him, this guy immediately is just he's not shouting at you, but his words, his passion is just shouting out at you within the first sentence.
Right.
Exactly.
A lot of energy he has.
He does. He loves to talk about movies, and I like to listen to his passion about movies. It's so great when like you see someone who loves something so much that they get giddy like a little kid on Christmas. Like for me, that's one of the most exciting things about Mantz is it's like he's talking about movies for the first time, but he's been doing it for a very long time. So I'm very excited for us to kind of go a little bit more in depth here about the Mantz Man, the movie release dates. Scott Mantz.
Nice.
Yes. Ben, what do you got on Mantz? I mean, it's clear we've all three of us have gone through his matches though, but how is your feeling on Mantz? I mean, like
He knows his stuff. He knows his stuff. He knows his dates, for sure.
I agree. You don't have to, you can watch like 85% of his matches, and you're gonna expect him, either if he's wrong or right, to immediately go, "Oh, good. I did not get Goodfellas, but it was released in 1990." You know, he will
You're
immediately.
Like, no one should know that.
Yeah, it's amazing. You think that? I mean, how the heck would he know the release date of Casablanca, Maltese Falcon, or of course, one of my favorite. Of course, when you hear him talk about movies release dates, I loved on an episode he did of Clark Will's Sending the Wolf podcast when he was talking about Close Encounters of the Third Kind. 5 times within that recording, he kept mentioning the movie release date of Close Encounters. It was just like 1976, 1977. I can't remember it that much, but it was just like the more he keeps saying that movie release date, it just pops into you. And the fact he has his own freaking slice in the Schmoedown. I mean, come on.
He didn't have it for a bit. He didn't have it for a bit. Just saying.
That is true, but he was one of the first Schmoedown competitors to at least get his own slice, at least, and it was like there until everybody has their own strengths and a slice they associate with, but nobody in that Schmoedown personified the movie release date slice like Scott Mantz. Yes, you are correct. He didn't have it for long. He got it back later, but for a majority of the Schmoedown within the older seasons, that was Mantz. Like. You even think about movie release dates, that's Mantz. You play against Mantz, you don't want movie release dates.
No.
I can almost guarantee you every single match he had, movie release dates, was on that wheel.
Without a doubt.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Everyone knows, you hear the name Scott Mantz, 2 things come to mind. Him singing movie release dates, or just him just spouting off like almost... There are certain questions where the movie's release date has nothing to do with the question. He'll answer it, and then occasionally he'll bring up, "Oh yeah, it was released in this year." Like it's not what they asked. So it's just his nickname really is Scott the Movie Mantz Man.
Yeah,
right.
That's great.
But I think what's funny is that he's one of those players during the older days of the Schmoedown, like you see from the Collider era, seasons 3 and 4. He just loved to flex that knowledge. It's like most Schmoedown players. I mean, most Schmoedown players now, they don't ever want to reveal anything they know in fear of, of that question being brought up later or somebody using it against them. Mantz didn't care. He was one of those guys. He was there to play for the fun of it. When he got serious big time. But no matter what, he got in there just to have fun. I mean, like my favorite instance of Scott Mantz was his freaking team match against ETC at the first ever Spectacular. You clearly see this man, even though he was there for like revenge for him losing to them when they was originally Profiles and Machinima, he also constantly kept having fun. Like the moment he and Inman won that match, he went on the mic celebrating as if he won the championship. That guy just could not stop talking. They had to cut away from him 3 times just so Christian and Mark can get a word in.
I love the match where it was Team Trick versus Team Action. That was a fun one too.
I love that match so much because Ben and Drew, that was the point in Team Action's career when they were at their ultimate heelness,
Right.
where they could get under anyone's skin, and you could tell throughout that match, Mantz and Inman were not the biggest fans of either Ben or Drew. And yeah, during that time, the promos were also very spot on. But yeah, no, like Ben said, it's probably my favorite match too, is mainly for the non-trivia aspect of that match was so entertaining.
The back and forth between the 2 teams.
like the trivia of it was not that bad either, but it's not what, like, when you think of that match, you don't think of the actual trivia part of it. You only think about what Ben and Drew were able to do to them.
No, that is true. Because one thing about Scott Mantz that became very obvious, like after his first match against Roca, and we're gonna talk about the Roca and Mantz rivalry, that's for sure.
Oh,
But
nice.
one thing that's became apparent with Mantz is that everybody who didn't know Mantz, or people who saw him, knew how you get in his head. I mean, Christian likes to say there's players who are their own worst enemies. I'd say Scott Mantz was definitely one of those players who was his own worst enemy. He
Exactly.
recovers perfectly fine, but then the moment you start getting him in his head or he messes up, you can see that the wheel stops, like it stops in place. It's no longer turning. He's just more of trying to. He's focusing less on the gameplay and more of trying to get back at his opponents. Like best example, in the Team Trek, in the Action and Trek match. Like, oh my god, when Guy and Ben came out just mocking them with those phasers, you clearly see that Mantz was bothered by that.
Because he loves Star Trek, and they're making fun of it. He's like, these little punks.
Yes. Even in their post interview, even my favorite was when Trek beats Cinema Blend to get into for the Ultimate Schmoedown to face either Action or Deep Cuts. Action immediately interrupts them, and the heat between these two was so fantastic. Oh my god, Inman.
Pretty sure there is still a bit of a heat between Team Action and Team Trek. Because they've never been able to really resolve it.
No,
so
they haven't.
I miss Team Trek. They were so good.
It would be an interesting what if match, because we were supposed to get those this year, but due to everything, not unfortunately get them. What if Team Trek would have beat Team Action in that match?
That we would have gotten Trek versus top 10 like Mantz wanted. Mantz, like after that loss to Roca, there's been that constant tease of Mantz Roca 3, like, and there was 2 attempts for that year. There was the what if Trek won, and then there was Scott Mantz getting into that 5-way qualifier to face Roca in the Ultimate Singles tournament. I mean, he didn't win, obviously, but the fact that Bateman was also on that panel too, Jesus Christ! It's just like that. That should have been like, we could have gotten a great like page closer to that rivalry, though. I mean, Mantz and Bateman have been like, you know what? Let's just talk about the rivalries of Mantz. I mean, I wanted us to talk about our first match, talk about Mantz, but just the rivalries of Mantz in the Schmoedown. They're unforgettable, honestly.
You have to start with Roca. I mean, you have to, right?
No doubt amongst my mind, Mantz and Roca, that treks all the way back to the beginnings of the Schmoedown, of the Ultimate Schmoedown. I mean, Roca and Mantz taking their rivalry from Screen Junkies and bringing it into the Schmoedown was fantastic. The fact that they talked in their first match, in their promos, how Roca talked about how Mantz was over talking him, was not letting him get a word in their Screen Junkies for their movie fights, and how it ate at Roca, and how Mantz, I mean, seriously, this dude may not be what you consider a heel in the Schmoedown, but he has that constant heelish attitude of being a schmug.
He has
smug asshole.
heelish tendencies. He has heelish tendencies.
Those tendencies, man, and it always worked against Roca well, where you can even see in their first 2 matches, I mean, Mantz and Roca always got underneath each other's skin. It was perfect. I mean, come on, the Bespin loss. Who took more advantage of that loss than Scott Mantz? He made T-shirts out of that loss in his match. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I believe I can't remember which match it was after. No, in his match against Merle, he had Roca stand near the curtain wearing a freaking Bestman shirt while he played Merle. I mean, for Christ's sake, you can't take one look and see that if Mantz was not always so smiling all the time. I mean, he could be the cocky heel, but it was clear that Mantz was not into the wrestling aspects of the Schmoedown. He was into the fun of the aspects, being passionate about movies. It was there every match he played in. You can't tell me what. I mean, was there ever a certain match in the Schmoedown where Mantz did not look like he was there for his passion of movies?
No.
No.
No, Mantz clear, like you could tell because we've seen Mantz outside the Schmoedown. He loves to talk about movies. He doesn't really talk about how much he loves wrestling or characters inside. He loves the movie trivia aspect of it. So it makes complete sense why he's there for the actual trivia.
And that is a very great topic because one thing about all of us fans in the Schmoedown is that when it comes down to it, is the character aspects of it. Because Christian Harloff, he was a big wrestling fan. Him and Mark Ellis, they created the Schmoedown to have those aspects of wrestling involved. But it's clear that Scott Mantz, he's definitely one of those personalities. It doesn't matter if he knew wrestling or not, but he understood the character aspects of the Schmoedown. Either if he was playing in teams, if he was singles. I mean, God, I could go for miles talking about Mantz. The moment this dude opens his mouth, Christian, you all knew you were in for a ride.
Just don't get him started on Mama Man, then you're trapped forever.
That's right. That's right. I mean, one thing's for sure about Scott Mantz is that he didn't need no. It's clear he didn't need no directions when he ever had to cut a promo. Like my favorite promos. No. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Our favorite. What promo would you think was like the best of Scott Mantz? Honestly, like from all the matches we watched. I mean, as much as I love the Roca Mantz ones, I loved his promo when he was going up against Bibiani because it was low key. But at the same time, it was kind of like when Mantz was at hit like a downfall, because it looked like on a downward slope. Because I remember Trek had lost their team championship match, then lost another team's match. And then, of course, at the time in that season 4, it was the start of the 5-ways for Inner Geekdom. So Inman was starting to get involved into the Inner Geekdom process. So Mantz was literally on his own.
Right.
Just for me, just due to the tension and how much they just don't like each other, any promo, Mantz, Roca, for me will always be my favorite Mantz promo, just because both sides have a passion for just competing against each other. And you could tell that when it comes out in the promos. You can tell it in the tension within the matches. That's why I want Mantz Merle 3. I would love to get Mantz Merle 3. And when Mantz got picked up during free agency this season, I was like, we're going to get Mantz Roca 3. The only way we get that is if Roca gets bounced early here in the Ultimate Schmoedown tournament.
Yeah.
And maybe we get a non-tournament singles match.
Yeah, that could be an undercard, honestly, because Christian has stated for the Spectacular, so far the only matches that's locked down is the Team's Championship and the Inner Geekdom. Nothing about Star Wars. Honestly, if Roca does get bumped, we could have the possibility of a Mantz Roca 3 for a Star Wars.
I thought we did have a Star Wars.
Yeah.
I thought Star Wars was going to be Spectacular, but from what I've been hearing, it hasn't been locked down for Spectacular.
It probably could just be an issue with schedules, and that's why. But from my understanding, Spectacular will be, so whoever wins the singles tournament will face up against Dan or Ben, whoever wins in that match next week.
Yeah.
Then whoever wins the teams tournament will face whoever wins the Corruption Shazam.
Yeah.
And then we'll have Chandru, Chance, and then it's Ace, Alex.
Yeah.
That should be the 5 matches.
Yeah.
Unless something changes, which is quite possible here in the Schmoedown. There could be maybe Ben and Dan's second one is just as good as their first, and Christian wants to find a way to get that third match.
I mean, it is possible, without a doubt. But I do agree. I was upset when I didn't get to see him when Mantz got picked up. I mean, you saw that he was so excited to be back to be playing, just like how Perry was during that free agency pickup. And Perry was able to get that opportunity to play. And so when Mantz got picked up by, at the time when Burnett was in charge with the Burning Droogs, you thought, okay, he's going to get that opportunity. He's going to be one of the first names mentioned for that singles tournament. But then life happened, or, crap happened, and then Burnett's gone. And then we got Ken involved, and then Ken puts his 4 involved. And I'm like, wait, where is Mantz in here? Because I could see him trading out, as much as I've come to love Bonnie as a player, but you could have traded her out for Mantz or Jader. I mean, yes, he is a rookie. He's that one rookie who won.
He's doing pretty well though.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, Jader is number 2 for rookie of the year. No, 3. Sorry. 3 for rookie of the year.
Okay.
You got Barbarian, Ben, Jader. I think with Parker being so hyped, the fact that he only got 2 matches all year, there's no way he can be in the top for rookie of the year.
Yeah, that is definitely a hard climb.
3 matches. Sorry, 3 matches.
No, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, to be honest, that's the biggest issues when it came with Schmoedown holding on to it. When a certain player was hyped, it was either they lived up to it or they just didn't meet those expectations. Because every year Christian was doing that. He did that for Irwin. Irwin met the hype. He did that for Smets. Smets was able to do that. Even for Shannon Miller, if she had not lost to Oyama, maybe we could have seen a certain match between her and Dan Murrell. But, that didn't happen. But it seems that she's definitely turned a corner this season. And for Mantz, I wanted to see like a big comeback from him. Like him being into that. Now thinking about it, maybe he could have switched out either Alonzo or Whitney for that spot. Like I would have loved to have seen him versus the Kid or him versus Barbarian in those little pair-ups. Like the personalities. Oh my God, him versus the Kid would have been amazing. Neither of them could have stopped talking in that match.
Christian would have just lost his mind. He's like, oh, what is this?
Yes, it's
both of you lay off the energy drinks and the sugar.
I know. We know and Mark Ellis would have had so many great opportunities for so many jokes. Which
it would have been. We would have had some good one-liners, definitely.
Yes, or whenever Mantz did his little flex of movie release dates, I'm pretty. Part of me would have been like, the Kid would have been like taking notes down on his whiteboard. He's like, okay, it was released in this date, and like, oh wait, I'm still doing this. Okay, I'm gonna save that for later. But talking about Mantz though, I think one thing is about Mantz. While as a singles player, he didn't never have the best record. I think being 2-5, but as a teams player, that is where he really shined. Because
teams is where he made his mark.
Without a doubt, he was definitely the heavy in that team. I mean, he and Inman were a great pair together. Inman, he was a very geek heavy player, but also knew a couple of regular singles movie trivia. Like my favorite is his match against Snyder. He was able to pull off a couple of war movie questions. He knew some simple actors and actresses questions. But Mantz, it was clear he was heavy, which is why when they were Team Trek, he was the captain and Inman was number 1.
He was the first officer.
Yeah, and their dynamic was fantastic too. There was no ego bruising amongst the two of them. It was either one of them knew it or they trusted the other to get that answer.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt about it. It's actually interesting to go ahead and look at in terms of Mantz's record and his percentage and how many questions he got right. So he was 2-5 as a singles player.
Yep.
58.8% accuracy, which is not amazing, but it's not awful.
Yeah. So. And if you have to compile the overall of every Schmoedown match he played in different formats of the Schmoedown
Correct.
League.
He played in different eras.
Yeah, especially like when you look at the Ultimate Schmoedown Teams tournament, it was a definitely complete beast during that time when it was just the Schmoes No Show. Because in the last rounds, you had that betting round where you got to choose between betting a couple of points or betting all of it. But when it got into what we're familiar now with the 3-round structure, Mantz, he did a good job. I mean, and of course his match against Merle, I think his matches against Merle, the second match against Roca, and his match against not Bibiani. But there's 3 matches I believe that he wasn't at his best, but he was still at least able to give a good fight. Actually, you know what? I take that back. His match against Bibiani was another example because he and Bibbs came very close within each other. Like at first, it was tied amongst them because at first it looked like Mantz was just going to be dominated from Bibbs after that first round. I mean, sure, Bibbs got that perfect round. He missed the perfect question, so it felt like Bibbs was going to completely dominate him to a KO. But when Mantz was able to get Tarantino and still be able to get questions, no steals at all. And he got a steal from Bibiani. You saw there from Mantz that Mantz is kind of like proof amongst the Schmoedown players. Like, even if you're falling behind from a perfect round, anything can change in the second round. And that's one thing about Mantz that proves. His first round playability or his accuracy or his statistics may have never have been great. But you get to the second round, either if it's movie release dates or a simple other category like dramas, or one of my favorite matches between Team Trek and 6 Degrees, they get mixed bag. The questions can always favor them. I mean, seriously,
that category scares me so much because you don't know what's in that bag. There could be anything. Like, it's possible they could all be movie release dates.
That's true.
Or they could all be, I mean, they didn't have it then, but now dance movies. Like, you never know. That's why if you see that on the wheel, you got to be concerned. You're like, I'll take anything else. I'll take opponent's choice at this point over a mixed bag.
That is true. But the funny thing about Mantz is that whenever he got movie release dates, even though it was his best slice, he was also proof that amongst many Schmoedown players that sometimes his strengths didn't help him, especially in his movie release dates match against Roca. He only got 2 of movie release dates correct. And even though he improved later on, mostly when it came to movie release dates, it was pretty clear that his because let's be honest, like I said earlier on, it was easy to get into his head. So I guess when it came to the mental aspects of the Schmoedown, it was clear that Mantz, he saw this just as a fun game. He didn't see this. He wasn't taking it as seriously as many Schmoedown players are now, like Merle, like Roca, like even back then with JTE. Like JTE and Roca, in my mind, were like the 2 guys who were taking this game so seriously during those first 3 seasons that when you saw him against Roca, or when you saw Team Trek going up against the championship between Trek and Patriots, there was a lot of changes in that match as well. Because if I recall correctly, when matches went to sudden death, they used that buzzer to decide who was going to get the point before they finally switched it to the whiteboards. And it was because of Trek versus Patriots, they got rid of that buzzer and it went to the whiteboards from now on. So that's one thing of Mantz I can say when it leads to his argument to be part of the Schmoedown. Because that's one thing I should definitely touch on when it comes with players being on our Schmoedown. Not just how they are as a player by getting points wise, winning championships, or just through their personalities and promos, but how through their actions or through their matches have influenced the game going down the road.
Yeah, I mean, Mantz literally, like you said, is one of the few competitors that has their own face on a slice. It's one of the few competitors that has his face on a slice. Also, there's not a lot of people in the Schmoedown where when you hear a certain word like movie release dates, almost everyone, either who's competing in that match or someone in the crowd in the studio, will sing movie release dates. Like it's movie release dates. He has left an impact on the Schmoedown. Even though he has not competed in some time, he still has an impact on the Schmoedown, and that's why he belongs here.
When you say he's iconic?
Oh yeah, he's definitely iconic.
Oh, 100%. Other than movie release dates, let's also remember that Mantz also, when it came to a slice he didn't like, he was not afraid to. I mean, come on, let's not forget when he and Inman nearly got destroyed by that Cameron Diaz slice in their match against the Wangers, and when it came back, we got that phrase of that bitch.
That's true. That's another one-liner from Mantz that you could say is definitely lead to him. That bitch.
And no disrespect to Cameron Diaz out there, but when it came with Mantz, he did not like you in trivia. Oh my God.
In terms of movie trivia, Mantz is not a fan of the beautiful Cameron Diaz.
No, I mean she's retired now, so I believe so, because the last movie that Cameron Diaz did was the remade adaptation of Annie with Jamie Foxx and Rose Byrne. After that, she had not done any movies. I mean, maybe she did like a uncredited cameo. I mean, we'd have to look up from her filmography. But as far as I'm concerned, yeah,
Yeah.
that leads to another idea. That's just another notch on Mantz's iconicness. The fact that he even without like not trying, he made something iconic of Cameron Diaz is going with that. Even with his own partner of Jason Inman. I mean, even with Mantz not even have to say it. When Inman just sees that slice, he just goes, Cameron Diaz, that bitch. But it was just awesome. And
I forgot about that. That's funny.
it is. And I'm pretty sure now that with Mantz removed, we don't hear that a lot. Like the movie release dates is more iconic. But you know what? Let's get to it. You did brought it up earlier, Ben. He didn't have his face on that for long. It went to that match against Bateman. Another instance of the game changing again with Bateman himself solidifying himself. I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about Bateman down the line. But just this match.
No doubt.
Yeah, but this match between Mantz and Bateman, even the build-up was awesome. When Trek lost against World's Finest, Bateman walks in and that post-interview, and it's still, and I saw, and when I look at some earlier stuff, there is one where you see Mantz just grab Bateman by the suit, like pulling him off stage as if they're going to get into a fight. It's just one of those situations with Mantz that even if he was not big in storytelling, he knew at least when it came to something memorable, he was able to pull something out of it.
Yeah, definitely for sure.
But yeah, that match against Bateman, I mean, Jesus. I mean, look at it. Everything Bateman knew how to get in Mantz's head just from his previous experience with him, with Team Trek and Team Action. You saw he walks out there, he gets that, he does the whole, like, if I win, I get your slice. Immediately, if you see from that reaction, Mantz is just stunned. He's like, you want my slice?
You want to take my slice?
And then you see with that coming out with that country, like, wait, what am I reading here? I thought this was we're just playing here to have a game. And then that happens. I swear to God, that match really could have gone Mantz's way because he did at least get his. I think the only question he missed was his 3-pointer. He got his 2 and his 5-pointer, and Ben had missed all of it. The rest of his 3-round matches, Mantz would have kept that slice, and we would have gotten that Roca Mantz 3 match that he and Christian wanted to hype up.
It's not just them. I think a lot of longtime Schmoedown fans would love to see that Mantz Roca 3 match. And I'm glad that they didn't decide to do it over this online, because there's just certain matches that really should be done either live in studio or at a live event at a venue. And I really feel like Mantz Roca 3 would definitely be an amazing match to watch live.
Yeah, we
just because of all that history.
We need an audience for that. Ben, I mean, what's your feelings, man, about Mantz Roca 3?
It would be awesome. I mean, there's Mantz Roca 3. Yeah, I mean, that is maybe like I don't even know how it would work, but it would be iconic. It would bring back the old school feel to this new school dynamic. It would be great to see. I don't know if it will ever happen, but here's hoping.
I'd say never say never, because
anything's possible.
Yeah, anything's possible to Schmoedown. And one thing's for sure, when Christian likes to see a storyline form out of the form, he most situations he wants to see that storyline happen, but nowadays he's more into just, going with the flow. Because we all know those old legends, those stories about Christian wanting a certain storyline match, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, you want to know who messed that up for forever?
Guy.
Yep. He wanted Merle to just wipe the floor with Guy.
Yep.
Apparently, Christian didn't tell that to Guy, and that's one of the things I love about the Schmoedown, because if this was wrestling, Merle would have won that match.
True.
But with the Schmoedown, there's no fixing. I don't care what other fans state. There are no fixing these matches for a certain competitor to win, other than going up maybe as against someone else who's not as strong. But nothing with giving layup questions or stuff like that.
Whoever says this is fixed, I believe is not really a true fan of the Schmoedown. No, there's no way any of this is fixed.
Well, I think the thing is that look, I understand some people want certain matches to go a certain way, and when it doesn't,
Yeah, of
there's
course,
always
of
everyone has those complaints. I'm with you there. I mean, if you think certain matches happen a certain way, if you're gonna complain why Roka has more than 15, 20 matches under his belt, and you're gonna be
It's way
angry.
more than that.
I know he's got so
Roka
much
has-
more.
He has so many. I think it's like 42. Like it's
45 maybe. I mean, Dan,
Riley,
him, Dan, Riley. I mean, Bib. They got like so many matches under their belts.
Roka
If Clark,
48 career matches.
I mean, if Clark Wolf didn't retire, I'm pretty sure she would have been reached up to that same level of number of matches.
Yeah, Riley's at 40.
how many
Mark-
did Cushing have?
I'm
Griffin?
checking that right now.
His last match was a spectacular 2.
Rachel has 29. And what's crazy is Merle has 31 and he missed like what, 2 seasons?
Yeah. That's amazing, honestly.
It
with Raw.
shows how many he's done since he came back.
Yeah, and I think from with Mantz, when I pulled up the matches I displayed, he was at least somewhere within 15 matches, I think. 20, 7, near the
He
20s.
is at 17. He's
Yeah.
6 and 11 combined with singles and teams.
Yeah, that's what. And 17 matches total. Majority of them, I believe, were just team matches. I mean, Trek. Let's be honest.
Singles he had 7 and teams he had 10.
Yeah, there
So
you
it's
go.
pretty close actually, but like you said, he definitely is more well known for teams. But he does have his whole iconic thing with Roka, which is singles. But he's in terms of winning a championship, he's never really gotten close in singles.
That's true.
Team Trek got a #1 contenders match once, so
They played the Patriots for the titles. Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
okay. I
fun
thought that was
match.
the
Yeah. I think they did re-enter the tournament, the Ultimate Schmoedown Teams tournament, but then they lost the action, so that could have been their way back to the Patriots. But
yeah.
because I rewatched that match, and if the Patriots had not gotten their 3-pointer, Trek would have been the champions there.
Well,
Like,
that,
Trek- Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
I'm sorry, but that's the Eva match, right? From Wally?
Yeah, the one where Inman did not. He said Ava instead of Eve for what was the name of Wally, the female robot that
Right.
Wally was fallen in love with. Yeah, he said Eva, and Christian knew it was wrong. A part of me was going like, because you can almost see when the camera cut back to Christian, he wanted to clarify, but no, JTE and Snyder as the champ, they immediately went on. It's like, no, you're wrong. And this kind of shows back. The one thing I'm loving rewatching these old matches, we are seeing some of the certain things that people are complaining about on how Christian and Mark need the players to clarify on answers, or when they want them to spell something out, or when
1999? Something like that.
yeah, that stuff. We've seen that stuff being pulled in these old Schmoedown matches. So it's not to say that Christian and Mark have not Christian and Mark they've heavily experienced this, but it's just more of like whenever there's a new batch of competitors or just a new breed of competitors coming up, it's like they're bringing up the same old problems they thought they had, they thought they had taken
Right.
care of in the past. Like there's always something new to an old problem.
Yeah, I don't like the fact that the judges are saying, "Can you be more specific?" If they don't get what's the correct answer, it should be marked wrong.
It has to.
I don't-
Yeah.
That's I guess one critique that I have is that sometimes I feel like the judges assist the competitors with the answer because it's partially right.
Especially Ellis. That's how I feel. I'm like you. I agree.
I mean, I do get it. I mean, if it's always like if you're 90% close to the answer, even though it's not the one, most of the time they'll be like, "Hey, you're in the ballpark, so we'll definitely give you that answer." I have seen that happen. I've seen Christian Ellis do that a lot. Where at times I'm like, "No,
They do it more in singles and teams. Like Star Wars is so specific.
oh, what?" It's
That
same with
other-
Inner Geekdom too.
They're
you need
so
specific
specific and a lot of these competitors know everything about everything. So odds are those issues don't come up as much because the volume of movies is a lot smaller than singles and teams. So they're like, yeah, they probably don't know every little detail about these movies for singles and teams. So we can't be as specific,
Yeah, that's correct.
which I'm fine with, because any movie that's been released in theaters is eligible for singles and teams. That's so many movies. You can't study every single one, know every minute detail. It's not possible.
Yeah. I mean, every single plot point or every actor that's involved. I mean, look, when it comes with actors and actresses, look, mostly you're going to know their names or you're not, or you're going to be somewhere within the ballpark. The only time we were going to ever, look, it's nothing against the actors themselves, but whenever you have actors that have like multi-syllable names or, you know, with international sounding names like, oh my God, what's the? I mean, look, let's be honest. When JTE messed up with Guillermo del Toro and said Guillermo del Toro, it wasn't that big of a flub because let's be honest, with his name, I mean, with most people, with most actors, directors who are from of an international origin, from an international country, you don't know exactly how their names are going to be pronounced, even when you spell it out. Like sometimes they'll pronounce it differently. Like certain letters are going to be silent. As much as everyone likes to bag on JTE for his famous mess ups, there's got to be sometimes you're going to have to understand them. And I mean, especially with that Trek match when Jason messed up with the character of Eve, it was kind of like, okay, I mean, it happened. Let's move on. Let's move forward. I mean, Mantz picked that back up, and I mean, it's just hard when you want to be so forgiving on so many of these players, but ultimately at the same time, if let's say if I was watching the movie and I did not know, let's say I'm given a question on Tom Cruise movies, and I'm gonna be like, what does Tom Cruise do? What does Tom Cruise character do in Oblivion? And I'm like, he's a tech guy. He's a technician repairman. And then they want a more specific answer to that, but throughout the entire movie, it's more of that's technically what he does. Sure, he's like a soldier, but most of the time in that movie, he's repairing the machines that's draining water from the ocean. That's mainly his job. So it's kind of like, if you want me to be that specific, it's kind of like I'm gonna have to explain it to you, wasting 5 minutes of my time.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, Mantz definitely is one of the unique characters. But he's not playing a character. He's just being himself. But it is a character that is very entertaining to watch. He's definitely one of my favorite competitors to watch just throughout the match, just to see what sort of commentary he gives with each answer. Because
he's fun. Yeah, absolutely.
And also, he loves movies so much. It's like watching a little kid on Christmas.
Yeah.
Every time.
It's one of the reasons why he has those shows. He still has his shows on Collider, like For Your Consideration, or he had a second show when he was also like he did like interviews as well, and you can feel that passion coming off of him. Yeah. Like if Mantz, like actually that's one thing about Mantz. I mean, we've all seen with Schmoedown competitors, some of them are going to be on the desk commentating for matches, or some of them have been like interviewers. Did any of you would you either see if Mantz was not going to be a player? Would you see him being on the desk for some of the remainder of these matches this season?
Oh, I would love to see Mantz on the desk. I think Mantz would offer great commentary along with reading these questions. I would love to see Mantz.
I could also see him as a manager one day.
Really, a manager?
The only issue I have with that is that being a manager takes a lot of time, and I really feel like with the amount of movies that he reviews, he watches, that maybe he just doesn't have the time, but something's important to you, you make the time. So maybe he would like to be a manager and have it fit into his schedule. We don't know.
I never heard that. I just said it just now, but I can see him.
It's not a bad choice.
I mean, let's be honest. His relationship, his chemistry with Inman in Team Track, there have been moments where you see his supportive side coming out. Like even when he talks and discusses answers with Inman in round 2, there is something there to where you can see him as a good coach among players. If I mean, hell, we just saw with Winston and Koi Jandrew. They were not the best players, but you see them transition great into managers. So it
Right.
doesn't. You are right, Ben. It would not surprise me if Mantz decides, you know what? Maybe instead of playing, he'll make the transition to be a manager. I mean, we've seen now with Ken Knapsack when he took over as being the Droogs. You see him when he is coaching his players. We've seen so many of the best performances out so far of the people in the Droogs. From Bonnie, from Doralde,
She had an amazing
Jader.
5-pointer pull. Amazing 5-pointer pull.
Yeah.
And she was able to
Yeah.
actually get she got the Meryl Streep slice nailed down. I mean, if she was given more time coached about the rules, she would not have wasted a JT in that match. She nailed down Meryl Streep, and yes, you're right, a great 5-pointer pull in round 3. So you saw with Ken Knapsack, like when he is there, he knows how to lift his his players up. And with Mantz being such a great mouthpiece, he could do exactly the same thing.
Exactly. Really.
And with all his knowledge, forget about it.
Oh, believe me, with his movie release dates knowledge, he will quiz every player on movie release dates.
Yeah. Every person on his faction would be excellent with movie release dates.
Yes.
And
Go ahead.
I think the name would be interesting. Like, what would his faction name be? The Mantz something? Like, I was thinking Mantz Men, but I'm like, no, we don't want that because it doesn't include females.
Because it feels like a play off of the Monuments Men, and that wasn't a great movie.
Like, Mantz Media or something with his name, I feel like is what they would do with
And
that.
man,
It could be a play like what Finstock did with his faction, the Finstock Exchange. Yeah, like Mantz Media or Mantz Filmmakers Incorporated. I don't know, or it's. I don't know. I was gonna say it's Mantz time could be their slogan.
no.
Ooh, it's Mantz time.
Yeah.
Something with caffeine.
Oh, I would love that. With caffeine on it. A Mantz Bucks, like Starbucks, or
Yeah, there you go, Man's Bucks.
the Mantz to go.
Let's go. So,
Oh my god, there is a lot to play off of here. I do love that, Ben. You could definitely see Mantz could definitely be seen as a great manager. I mean, look, Sam Levine, as much as the transition is like with his players, Levine is fighting hard for his players when he is a manager.
Yeah.
He's
And
just
the same-
not having a good year, but
Yeah.
we really can't hold that. I feel like he'd be a lot better in-person manager, personally. But right now with the state of society, we don't get these in-person matches. Hopefully next year we do, because I just feel like there are certain people that do better at talking and communicating with people face-to-face, not over
Right.
a
Over the screen.
webcam. So I'm personally so far this year, I'm not that pleased with how Sam's doing, just because he was so good as a competitor. I just assumed that he'd be a great manager, but personally, I have not been won over as him as a manager.
Who's your favorite manager this year so far?
Shannon, I love Shannon. Shannon doesn't give a care in the world about who or what she says, and the fact that she took her faction from last place to first place, for me, is one of the great stories of this year, along with obviously Winston, because
Winston.
how can you not love Winston?
To be honest, look, I think Shannon is a great manager, but I'm giving the edge to Winston there because with Winston,
Yeah, so is everyone. Like, everyone is picking Winston for manager.
it has nothing to do with the upsets that happened. It was because of the players he got, and he was able to not only work with them but bring the best. Shannon does a good job with her players too. Like Laura Kelly gave some incredible promos.
She turned Laura Kelly into something that is scary, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, but for me with Shannon though, it's just like the majority of her stuff did come from Chance and Mike, and it was because they're already established. I want to wait and see what Adam and Marisol are going to do in this tournament for me to believe that she is qualified manager. Look, Chance and Mike, team champions. Chance, he's going for the Inner Geekdom finals. She's definitely strongest contender for manager of the year. But for my argument with Winston, though, Winston had pretty much the most random assortment of players that you saw. He knew what he wanted to get with Paul Oyama, teaming him with Lon, with their dynamic as final exam. Paul Oyama missed in the Inner Geekdom. And then with Ace, though, after that loss against Parker, when he said openly,
that match was ugly. Oh, yeah. That match was ugly.
It was hard. But when Ace told him he wanted to be in Star Wars, Winston, I mean, of course, maybe he doubted, but then afterwards, he decided, you know what? Back up his player on that. And his player was able to pull off match upset after match upset just through strength and force of will. I mean, look, if Laura had gotten that question right, we would have seen another sudden death situation like with Scrimshaw and Dimolanta.
1 year. It was one number.
Yeah.
And we would have gotten another sudden death. And who knows how long those two would have been going
and then with Dimolanta and with Ace, I mean, both of their 5-point questions were incredibly tough. Dimolanta's was definitely a cut deeper than Ace's. But then Ace's 5-pointer against Ken, though. How many cannons were in the battle run is the trench run at the Death Star? Are you kidding me? That's like, those were tough 5-pointers. And look, I will never I will never underestimate Shannon as a manager. It's just for me seeing with her heavy hitters I want to see what she's like outside of her heavy hitters. So
we're not him yet.
We are going to find that out this upcoming week, though. She has 2 that are going up. So we'll see.
And if Collins and Marisol pull off 2 more upsets over Roka and Oyama, then trust me, she definitely has herself a top seat. Like,
I think even if she gets one of them, because for me, Winston and Shannon are like this all the time.
Yeah, you can see in the standings their factions, their points are trading like crazy.
Dude, yeah. Corruption, Finstock Exchange, and Swag, like every day someone else is in first. And because Finstock Exchange had 2 matches last week and they won both of them, that's why they're now in first place. Who knows where they'll be at this time next week?
Exactly.
And
also looking at Swag, though, with their players with Lon, he gets a KO, and then Lish and got a TKO. Those were like some huge points to nab. And I believe, who else does he have in the tournament? Or who he had in the tournament? Well, Frank Murren's gone. Who was the 4th player?
Video 2? No.
No. She was Dungeon.
That's Dungeon.
There was Moran. Oh, no, Oyama. Duh, Oyama. Oh, my God, I'm an idiot. So, it depends on... because right now he still has Oyama, Miller, and Lon in the tournament. Shannon, she's lost Mike, so she still has Chance. She also has 3 players in the tournament as well.
But she could have 1 by Friday, depending on how Adam Collins and Marisol McKee do. But
can you see Collins beating Roka?
I think if he plays like the way he did in his last match, he'll push Roka. If he can push Roka to answer his 5, there's a chance.
And
personally,
I've seen Adam play in the fan leagues. I've seen his matches. He is a strong competitor, and I believe, yes, he can push Roka, especially with the variation of questions. But it depends, just like with Marisol and Collins' match, it depends on what players they are going to get. Is Marisol going to get the Oyama who was able to pull
round 2? Round 2 is such an X factor that that can change any match. Say against Roka, Adam Collins spins spinner's choice and Don gets opponent's choice, or flip flop.
Yes,
like a match turns in round 2.
And sometimes your strengths don't even help you, and sometimes an opponent's choice, someone who thinks your weakness, turns out that you're able to actually handle it very well. So it's complete chaos with that round, and I do agree that's why I always believe no matter what the score is at the end of the first round, someone can get a perfect round. Okay, let's see how they do in the second round. Let's see how they continue into that third round, because there are so many players here we've shown. Like and we're gonna bring this back to Mantz. I just saw with Mantz's match against Bibiani. Bibiani got a perfect round against Mantz, but Mantz was able to steal. And I said this earlier. Mantz stole a point from Bibiani in that second round. Mantz was able to get 3 of his Quentin Tarantino questions to at least come within 2 points of Bibiani. He ties it in the third round with his 2-pointer. Bibbs misses his 2-pointer, and I believe Mantz, he misses his 3. Then Bibbs gets his 3. Mantz gets his 5. And if Bibbs had missed his 5, that would have been a complete change. Instead of Bibbs moving forward, Mantz moved forward. So, just looking at Scott's matches, every match that most of the matches I have watched and rewatched, there's always examples that even now dictating these upcoming matches in the Schmoedown for the tournament. Anything will happen. Even the best example, this past match between Riley and Video Drew. If Riley even said in his post-match, if he had felt more comfortable or more confident in one question, this would have been a completely different match, without a doubt. Or Video Drew.
Well, I wanted to talk about that match, but
You don't want... Okay.
No, I will. It was an ugly match. I mean, Riley won, which is great, but it was an ugly match, don't you think?
It was one of Riley's not his best matches, honestly. But you know what? With Riley, this definitely wants to bring up something I definitely want to talk about with Mantz, especially since Mantz has been a player of the past. Even though he's more up to date with even though he played, his last match was the Anarchy tournament and the exhibition match for the movie release date slice. Let's say now, with Mantz as a player, looking at all of his matches from the Ultimate Schmoedown to the Collider era to the days of now, would you think Mantz can still be held up as a great Schmoedown player? Do you think he is still like a top tier player? Like, is he a threat when it comes with the new era of competitors we have here, like Chance, like a rejuvenated Mike Kalinowski, like with Dan Murrell, who was able to show from retirement he can adapt to this. Can Mantz adapt to this new game now?
That is such the hard question to answer. We have not seen him compete in a long time, so we don't know what Mantz will get when he competes.
I think if he has time to study, yes. With no studying, no. I can't see it. All these players study their ass off, and you can tell he's too casual about it, or he was back then.
I kind of think his casualness, like his calm demeanor when he's casual, it has helped him out in some of the roughest of spaces. And the reason why...
That was back then. I don't know if you can do that now.
True. That is true. The only reason why I'm asking this, because we just saw between Perry and Kalinowski, Perry has not played a regular Schmoedown match since like the season 4. And she was able to, like, luckily get past Kalinowski, though. And Kalinowski, just like Roca, has been someone who has constantly played their best game or have come, like, you know, who is able to recover. It's just one of those situations I wanted to bring up to the front.
It's an interesting thing to think about, that I think if we would not have had this pandemic, I'm almost certain we would have gotten Mantz in at least a singles match. Who knows? Maybe he's on a team for the team's tournament. It's possible. They have not announced who the teams are, and there's always a chance. And we all know how good of a team's player Scott Mantz is. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Here's a question. Do you think if Ken was picking up free agents, do you think Ken would have picked him?
Would Ken have picked him?
That's a good question.
Well, I mean, technically it was Burnett who picked him, though. But But you know what? Since the fact that he is on a team with the manager, let's bring up this query that I wanted to ask, or this one thing. Scott Mantz, do you think with the manager in his corner, will he be better or will he play the same?
The right manager, yes. I don't know if Ken is the right manager for him.
No offense to Ken, but no one is ever good.
Okay.
Nothing against Ken, but you can just definitely tell he just doesn't want to be involved,
Right.
or he only wants to cut promos, which he's amazing at.
Definitely.
He's also great on the desk as well. He's also a great
Yeah, I
commentator on
think
the
he
Right.
prefers being on the desk. So
He's there to help out. He's there to help out. That's
yeah, he's just
Yeah.
Christian asked him to do a favor,
right.
just to help him out there, because there's no doubt we're gonna have a new manager next year. It's not gonna be the Droogs. It's we're just whatever team this was.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not this episode.
Exactly. Like it could be Scott Mantz. We could have Mantz Media.
Yeah.
Or
I'm actually loving the name of that more. Mantz Media. It's perfect
Yeah, me
because
too.
then
Christian. If you use that, you gotta give us trademark. I'm kidding.
yes. Or at
Mantz
least,
Media.
at least have us there on the desk when Mantz Media has a match. When the faction of Mantz Media has a match. That would be fantastic.
Yeah,
We're not
I mean,
twisting your arm, Christian. We're not twisting
I
your
don't
arm.
know if anyone else has said that. I haven't seen it anywhere, and I've not seen anywhere on this space where anyone's even talked about Scott Mantz as a manager.
Yeah.
I think Scott Mantz. Now that you guys brought it up, I think Scott Mantz could be a great manager.
I just came up with it. I literally just came up with it. And
Because I feel like one category a lot of competitors struggle in is what Mantz is known for: movie release dates.
Yeah.
right.
He could help so many competitors by providing how he either he studies for these movie release dates, or it's just something he's blessed with when he sees it one or two times and it sticks in his mind.
Imagine this. I don't think this will happen. Imagine Bateman playing for Mantz.
I think they would clash. They're like, all right, who's really better at movie release dates?
I mean, actually, that brings up the best thing with we talked about the Roca and Mantz rivalry. The Bateman and Mantz rivalry itself is legend. I mean, not just that release dates match, but I mean, if Mantz
action match too.
Oh my god, if Mantz is a manager and by some way of fortune he gets Ben Bateman on his team, or worse, a player faces Ben Bateman. And here's one thing that I think now, even think about Mantz more as a manager. Managers are always there not to just support, but to fight back against questions for challenges. I mean, just like with, I mean, the fact is, in Mantz's own matches, he has even questioned the questions themselves. I mean, he's never straight up challenged it, but he's, I mean, for Christ's sakes, in his Trek matches, he or his match against Roca, he's always like, wait, the specifics, like he not fighting Christian, but he nearly comes to blows with Christian and Mark regarding the legitimacy of the questions. So it's clear.
He would drive Christian nuts as a manager.
Okay.
It sounds just like Sam. Just like Sam.
Oh my god! If Mantz is a manager and him and Sam are across the table from each other, Jesus, this is going to be just like with Bonnie and Ken's post interview. Christian and Mark don't have to say a word; they will dominate the screen for sure.
How do we make this happen? How do we make this happen?
I would love to see that.
We're gonna have to will this into something. We're gonna have to will this into reality. Maybe even try to get people. If you are watching this and you love the idea of Mantz as a manager, just start going on the Facebook Schmoedown page or the Schmoedown Twitter, or whenever a match happens, do the live chats or comment #Mantz as a manager, Mantz Media, and then
Mantz Media.
Mantz Media, and the Christian's like, wait, what the heck is this about? And then he comes to our video, and then he'll just look at it like, oh my god.
He's like, that's actually a great idea.
And if Mantz is 100% behind that, believe me, get yourself a coach.
I want Mantz Media.
Movie release dates will be our top match, and just like the Federation of Planets, this is going to be a federation of Schmoedown competitors where it's going to be nothing but the best amongst all of us. Movie release dates, Oscar movies, directors, Tarantino, Mantz Media, we'll claim it all, and we'll have the top prize. We're coming for all the belts. Screw you, Roca. Best spin.
I think that is a great spot to end here.
Yeah, we are ending this, and just for our final thoughts here for everybody, Scott Mantz, do we see this guy on the Mount Schmoedown? Not the top, but just you see a place for him.
Yes,
Like
because he has
Yeah.
left an impact on the Schmoedown.
Definitely.
100% agree. Pretty much our Mount Schmoedown is going to be like Animal Crossing. It's its own Galapagos of islands. Mans has his island there. You go there and enjoy as many movie release dates as you want or Oscar contender worthy questions as you want. But yes, that is a perfect spot to end this here. For myself, I am your host, one of your hosts for this first episode of the Mount Schmoedown show, Ryan Payne. You guys can follow me of course, as you see on the top left of my Twitter handle, Caramel Payne. Brandon, where can everyone find you?
Right here. Just go ahead, Twitter, right there. You can see all the glorious stuff that I love to talk about.
Awesome. Ben, where can everyone find you?
Right. Well.
You're right in the middle, my man.
Right in the middle.
No, right there, you guys. Right there.
Yeah.
Right there. Go ahead and give us all a follow there. And hopefully by the time this drops, we may have a Twitter. Who knows?
Yeah,
So,
maybe.
Everyone, we appreciate you guys for all stopping by. Just get ready for the fun ride we're about to go on. So,
yes.
Thank you.
Mount Schmoedown, it is.